Silicon Valley is world-renowned as an entrepreneurship capital. What have you found to be the challenges of being an entrepreneur in Silicon Valley? And actually, this one, I'd like all three of you to speak, although generally I'll let you speak up when you like the questions. Max, you want to start?
Why me? It's very difficult. I think Silicon Valley, on balance, is still the best place to start a company worldwide. So any sort of a naysaying on sort of what the difficulties are, or what sort of challenges one encounters here, should be prefaced with the point that I'm not sure the challenges don't exist, or I'm not sure they would be substantially worse any other place in the world. The probably most annoying problem in Silicon Valley is actually an important facet of company starting, namely, majority of people here believe very deeply that you should be building products and services for yourself, which is patently incorrect. Most of the world does not live in Silicon Valley and does not use the same products, doesn't enjoy the same concepts, doesn't follow the same trends, doesn't spend money the same way. We live in a sort of crazy little vacuum tube pure bubble, which occasionally bursts, and the number of people you encounter in Silicon Valley that invest or start companies based on what they like is mind-boggling, and majority of those tend to fail. And trying to wade through that and trying to find co-founders, investors, partners, employees is actually a significant challenge. I wonder if starting companies in the Midwest might be easier in that dimension, only because you encounter people who are much more normal, spend their time and money doing things that no one would do.
Yeah, so in terms of the fundamentals of what it takes to start a company, I don't think any of that is different just because of the location where you started. I agree with Max. I think this is still by far the best place to start a company. If I had to pick one, I would definitely be here. I mean, potential challenge could be the fact that there's so much activity in this area, and a lot of it, not all of it has substance. I mean, there is a lot of noise as well, combined with the high level of innovation. So I guess it can be difficult to stand out from all that activity. So maybe I would say, the bar here is very high to be noticed. And I guess you could see that as a disadvantage, but I think it's actually a good thing.
Scott?
I'll just echo Max and say that I think this is by far the best place to be starting companies.
Who thinks it's not?
And I think that's actually the core challenge, because as entrepreneurs, we've all figured this out, and we've all moved here, and your core competition is the other entrepreneurs. And it's not so much that you're competing for capital, because there's plenty of capital in the world, credit crunches notwithstanding. And what you're really competing for, and what really makes companies great, is talent. And that's talent in your engineering department, that's talent in your executive team. Just across the board, that's what's going to make a difference when you are, again, actually competing with these other entrepreneurs in the marketplace. But a lot of the other people you may be competing with as a business, they might not be located here. But when you're going after people, there's sort of only so many smart people that we can cram into the Bay Area, and I think that's really the hardest challenge, I think, for all of us when we're starting companies.
So, Jawad, I'll have you start on the next question, and then give Max a break to go next, which is, what would you say are the top 3 things to being a successful entrepreneur here?
Yeah, so I mean, it's difficult to pick just 3 things. I mean, I think there's a lot of components, but if I had to pick one that I'm sort of that I've become aware of over and over again, is really the value of your personal network. So when you're starting something new, no one can be an expert at everything, right? So I mean, when you start a company, there are many different areas in which you have to excel and which are going to be very challenging, and no one has all the answers. So you really need to find experts who can help you in each of those areas. And about Silicon Valley. All these people are concentrated in one area, and you build friendships and with all these people that you know are talented. And when you hire someone that you've never worked with before, I mean, you can look at the resume, but who knows how things will work out and how will this person perform under stress, or how creative are they. But if you've worked with a group of people before, then you know all these traits about people. And I know that in all of our cases, we have been able to establish such a network of experts from our previous ventures. And what you'll see over and over again is that when a new company gets started in Silicon Valley, oftentimes the entire network from the previous company will sort of move along into the next company, and that usually works out pretty well.
To amplify that, one of the ties that pulls us all together is involvement with PayPal. So, Scott, you want to top 3 things for Burns?
Can I get by with just one thing? I think one of the really hard things is to figure out very quickly in your career what your own strengths and weaknesses are, and then be able to identify complementary strengths and weaknesses in other potential team members. Putting together that sort of Tetris puzzle when you're putting together an initial founding team, I think really makes all the difference in the world. I think if you look at most of the companies that we've been involved with, it's usually not 4 engineers in a garage or 4 business guys in a garage, but really it's the combination of the engineer, the business guy, the design guy, the marketing guy, or girl, as the case may be, that is really what makes companies succeed. And I think, per Java's point, as you then go out and try to find people that are the appropriate match, you use your personal network, you do all these things, but if you don't know what you're looking for, you're going to have quite a bit of trouble finding it. So I think that's something that we all continue to figure out year by year, is sort of what we're good at and what we're not good at, and hooking up with people that can fill in our holes.
Thanks.
Consistent fashion sense.
I always see Max in slide t-shirts. That's how he identifies himself.
It's actually not coordinated. We're wearing the same exact t-shirts. It's actually
Trying to give Max a hard time.
Yeah. You will never see me without a slide t-shirt on, literally. It's guaranteed. Other than fashion sense, of course, one of the things that I sort of learned over the years, kind of the hard way, and sometimes I wonder if the learning is exactly right, but I'll share for what it's worth, since it currently stands as a truth in my mind. To me, it turns out that being an entrepreneur isn't about starting a company with a vision. It's about starting a company, period, or starting and running a company. And it sounds pretty similar, but it's actually not. The locking off of the second part, where you kind of know what you're planning to do, enables you to not stray from being an entrepreneur while changing business strategy wildly. If you look at the history of Slide, the history of PayPal, the history of anything successful that I've ever been involved in, or anything successful that I know about, it is routinely the case that you start heading north only to figure out that you really should be heading south, and that changes again and again, time and time again. In my experience so far, the hallmark of a true entrepreneur is someone who doesn't only have the fortitude to weather the changes which are typically brought about by the market or the investors or efficiencies or deficiencies in the team. That's actually a great predictor of the future success for a company and future success for the particular entrepreneur. Thriving in that environment and making the best of it is sort of the bonus variant of the same trait. So I think that's probably the single most important thing that I've learned.
Yeah, I'll just point out that Max's company, PayPal, was started as FieldLink, which was in the business of providing secure tokens for Palm Pilots, and then became Confinity, which was in the business of providing secure wallets and payments on Palm Pilots, and only eventually became PayPal and focused focused on eBay payments and eventually merged with eBay. So Max knows what he's talking about on that topic.
Exactly.
That's nothing compared to what Slide has gone through so far.